Hello everyone, my name is Emma. Welcome to Read the World. Today I'm playing some catch up with a double feature of romance novels that I have read over the past couple of months to celebrate and recognize certain heritage months. I read 3 books by LGBT authors featuring LGBT protagonists for Pride Month in June, and then I read 3 romance novels by disabled authors featuring disabled characters for Disability Pride Month in the month of July. For Pride Month, I went out of my way to read 3 different trans romances. The first one that I read is A Lady for a Duke by Alexis. I gave this one 4 stars. It was very close to being a 5 stars for me. Very close. It had the yearning that I always love. I love a slower burn. I want angst. I want tension. And this definitely had all those things. The premise is that Viola was born as a man in the early 1800s in England, and then during the Battle of Waterloo, I can't remember what war that was during. I don't know. European history isn't my personal historical interest. During the Battle of Waterloo, she fakes her own death in order to transition into being a woman. And then she comes back to England, reveals herself to her family, and they decide to employ her as her sister-in-law's ladies' companion. But it's just a way to appropriately allow her to come live in their house again. Meanwhile, her best friend that she grew up with throughout her entire life has sustained severe injury and has crippling PTSD and is not functioning very well in his duke's castle up in the wilds. And so Viola and her sister-in-law go up to the castle to see what they can do to help him, and also really want to get his younger sister down to London to make her social debut. And so there's this tension of oh my gosh, Viola and this duke have known each other their entire lives and we're so close. He thinks she's dead. And that's one of the things that is causing him so much pain, is that he thinks he has lost his best friend. And then when they meet again, he doesn't recognize her, but still feels this powerful connection with her. And so obviously it's romance, they fall in love. And there's this tension around how are they going to handle this situation. It's a beautiful romance. There is no direct transphobia at all. And it just is navigating how they figure out how to have that happily ever after together. I thought it was so darling. I also thought it was often very witty. I thought the sense of humor was great. I thought it was a good balance between the historical setting and making things a little bit more modern so that it's still an idealized, fantastical, cute little romance. I thought the side characters were really fun. The sister-in-law character was really great. I liked her a lot. I thought that the Duke's younger sister was also great. Everyone felt very real and likable, and the chemistry between Viola and the Duke was really fabulous. I feel like I don't see friends to lovers, childhood friends to lovers that often, but it can often work really well, and I think it's very cute. And so there's kind of these different layers of tension of what's going to happen in order for them to finally get together. What is he going to think? What is she going to think? And it all just ended up being so cute and so fun. I really liked it. I didn't give it a full 5 stars because when the premise was introduced and the way that Viola feels about her best friend, the way he has been feeling about her, and how much they miss each other's friendship and the impact that they've had on each other's lives, I guess I just had way different expectations for how their relationship would develop before she revealed to him that she had been the best friend from childhood all along. They had been building up a lot of romantic tension, and then it kind of just, when she reveals she's like, oh, actually, I'm your best friend, it just seemed like he accepted it, no problem, which I thought was lovely. But it kind of just nothing really changed. It kind of just continued with regular romantic tensions and figuring out how to be together and overcoming romantic conflict. And I was expecting there to be some sort of transition of the Duke being I thought you were going to be a brand new person in my life, and I had just had this inextricable connection with you, but now I realize that I've actually known you my entire life and you're one of the people who knows me the best. And I thought that then there would kind of be maybe an awkward kind of cute transition period of okay, now it turns out that you know everything about me, that maybe the comfort between the two of them, the comfort level would then evolve into something that kind of resembles what they had before, like that deep friendship, but then with this added dimension of romance. I don't know. I thought it would be more complex, but it just felt much more like a straightforward romance dynamic to me, and that both wasn't very, like, I don't know. I was about to say it wasn't very exciting. It's not that it wasn't exciting. It just didn't feel natural to me that the Duke would just be like, I don't know, I just felt like he took it too, he was too cool. He was too cool. He was like, oh, and you're also my best friend. How great. I mean, like, I thought that there would be a bigger adjustment of like, oh, you're actually this other person. I don't know if that makes any sense. Like, the fact that it turns out they were best friends this whole time didn't seem to make much of a difference, even though it had caused the Duke so much trauma of like, oh my gosh, I thought that I had abandoned you. We never found your body. I thought you were dead. I felt so much guilt about the war, all these things. And so I thought there would be a lot of reckoning of like, I felt so much pain over you. I thought maybe he would ask her like, why didn't you contact me sooner? I would have accepted you automatically. Instead, I've just been suffering, thinking that you were dead this whole time. But like, there wasn't any of that. There wasn't any grappling with his experience of losing her. I just thought it was odd. It just didn't quite feel like the way it would actually go. If it had actually happened, I just thought that was strange. But regardless, strong 4 stars. I think this is essential for anyone who likes historical romance, anyone who likes LGBT literature, even if you like a good story, and especially if you like LGBT books and stories, this one is for you because it's just so fun. It's just fun characters, fun hijinks, fun scenarios. I just think it's a good time. And I'm really picky about things, and so I just give it 4 stars instead of 5, but I still think it is widely appealing to a lot of different people. I had a lot of fun with it. There were parts that were making me chuckle out loud. I would love to read more. The end, the author wrote their own like book club discussion questions at the end that were very funny and silly, and at one point implied that one of the characters had been set up for a sequel, but it looks like that sequel has not been written thus far. But I would love to see more of these characters in the future. That was A Lady for a Duke by Alexis Hall. Up next, I read And They Were Roommates by Paige Powers. I give this one 3 stars, which is overly generous. I feel like it should be more like a 2, but it really committed to the bit of what it was doing, and I was so delighted by that I just had to give it 3. Like, 3 means I liked it. It's not going to be many of my favorites. I didn't love it, but I liked it. I had a fun time. This book is objectively absurd and extremely silly, but it really pushes the boundaries of just how silly it can get, and I thought that was fun. I thought the authors really went for it, and I applaud that. I don't think it was always successful. I thought it oftentimes just became nonsensical when it didn't have to be. It could have been both like silly and funny and coherent. But for what it was, I had a good time. I had a silly, goofy little time. This one, you'll see a trend here. I think this is, it seems to be a common trope when it comes to trans romances. The main character is a teenager who has transitioned to being a boy. He's a trans boy. I usually just hear about people being trans men and trans women. This is a trans boy because he's a minor. And he has this dream of going to this prestigious boarding school that will then like set him up for the rest of his life. And when he gets to this boarding school, he thought that he would have a single room, but it turns out that he has a roommate, and his roommate is this boy that he had a huge crush on during summer camp last year. And this boy was his first kiss, but it was before he had transitioned into a boy. And so this roommate does not know who he is. So once again, encountering someone post-transition that you had a connection to and wondering what's going to happen when they find out. This roommate guy is very popular and handsome and is a poet for some reason and is part of like a secret club in the boarding school that both helps secretly deliver letters from the boys' boarding school to the girls' boarding school, which is against school rules. That makes sense to me. They also help boys write the letters to the girls in the first place, which, you know, perhaps it's accurate. Perhaps it's accurate to the current state of youth literacy today. But I thought that was a little unbelievable. Also, it doesn't even depict them writing letters very often. I don't know why that was necessary. It's not a big part of the plot. It could have just been they deliver letters, but no, for some reason they also write the letters. And I was like, oh my gosh, like these other boys can't even write their own letters. Like they can't even write their own like goofy little notes to girls. I just thought, okay, whatever, sure. Anyway, there's a lot in this book that doesn't make any sense, but I had a fun time because this boarding school it's like St. Valentine's Academy, and everything is like Valentine themed. Like they have like red and black plaid jackets for their uniform, and there's like cupids and hearts on everything in the school, and just everything's themed and really over the top. And I thought that was so funny. Like it mentions it all the time. The school receptionist's office is filled with gnome figurines because she's obsessed with a reality show, a reality dating show that has to do with gnomes, and just everything is very bizarre and fleshed out with some absurd detail, and I thought it was really fun. I also thought that either this book started out as Ouran High School Host Club fanfiction, or it just heavily borrows from Ouran High School Host Club, because there's just so many similarities. The heavily themed boarding school with elaborate uniforms, the overly dramatic, handsome, blonde love interest who runs like a kind of secretive club. The club in And They Were Roommates has a member who is a child. I know in Ouran High School Host Club, it's a teenager who looks like a child, but he's actually a teenager. Don't worry, it's not creepy that he's dating teenage girls. In the book, he's an actual child who just has skipped a lot of grades. There's like a big strong guy who's also in the club, and then there's like a lot of headcanons for Ouran High School Host Club about Haruhi being trans, because even though in the series she is a girl, she spends most of her time disguised and very comfortable as a boy, and it just all screamed Ouran High School Host Club to me, and I loved that. I thought it was so fun. I just think I see so much heavy influence / just straight up published fan fiction of Twilight and Star Wars and Harry Potter that I had a great time being like, this is Ouran High School Host Club. I know what you are. I know where you came from. And I think that show / comic series is so goofy, and I love it. I loved being able to recognize these weird little conventions from this show that I watched in middle school, and just had a great time with it. The romance itself makes no sense whatsoever. It's enemies to lovers. They are enemies because the main character is like terrified that the love interest is going to find out that he's trans, and that's going to get him in trouble at school. And so in order to not get close to the love interest, he's just super mean to him all the time. Like super mean and super rude all the time. And then the love interest himself is just super annoying all the time. I saw no redeeming characteristics of either character, which is fine. I don't have to like characters in order to enjoy their story. But then it just made no sense when they then suddenly got together near the end. Like I felt no tension, no chemistry, nothing whatsoever. It was just the main character being super mean all the time, and the love interest being irredeemably annoying all the time. And none of that translated to like them getting to know each other or learning to respect each other or like growing to like and appreciate each other. Like nothing. I just like, and then suddenly they were kissing, and I was like, I mean, okay. Sure. And I just was not feeling it at all. I didn't understand why they liked each other. They had significantly more reasons to hate each other, to continue hating each other when they got together than they did to like each other. There was no reason for them to like each other whatsoever. I just thought it was absurd. As a romance, I think that this book really falls short. As a goofy little romp, it's a fun time. So do with that information what you will. Maybe that sounds great to you, maybe it doesn't. I'm glad that I read it. It was an experience. And also the fact that it was so over the top and so absurd felt so creative and fun to me that I do feel like the author has a lot of potential to put out something really good with their next few books. And I feel like they have at least one other book that is either out or coming out. which I'm all for. I'm very interested in seeing how this goes. And then the last book, the last romance novel that I read for Pride Month was Make Room for Love by Darcy Liao. I gave this one 2 stars, unfortunately. There were parts of it that I was really surprised how fun they were. The way that the main couple kind of connects is about labor organizing. One of them is a union blue-collar worker, and the other one is trying to unionize her PhD program. The main character has just broken up with her abusive boyfriend and needs a new place to live. And she's a trans woman, and she runs into this lesbian outside of a gay bar. They have an encounter, like a meet cute, and she's like, I have an extra room that you can stay in. This trans girl has always considered herself to be straight, but then finds herself to be very attracted to her new roommate. As they get to know each other and overcome their differences, they fall in love and help each other with union organizing. And I thought that the characters were fun and cute, and I thought that the idea was fun. I thought that the union organizing subplot was interesting and very original. But unfortunately with this one, I just wasn't seeing it. I didn't see the chemistry. I thought they just seemed like good gal pals and that like suddenly one of them would be like, wow, she's so hot though. And it'd be like, okay. You were just like talking. I just think that good romance and good tension is drawn from more than just like thinking the other person is hot. Forgive me if that is controversial, but that was the main thing that I saw, was like, it's 2 women and they each think that the other one is hot. And it's like, I guess. I just didn't really see it. They were very different. I could understand them as friends, but seeing them as romantic partners, it just didn't feel natural to me. But I know this is very subjective and that it could totally work for other people. I also thought that like the bi awakening trope wasn't very well executed in this book. The main character is like, I've been straight my whole life. I'm actually a straight person. I'm not attracted to women. And instead of it being, I've read bi awakening where it's like, oh, you're kind of noticing, suddenly you're realizing that you're noticing different things about this person, and what does this mean? And you kind of have they're learning things about themselves and making this gradual realization about how they're processing the world and seeing this other person. But it really just felt like the main character, one moment was like, I'm only attracted to men, and the other moment was like, I'm attracted to this woman, I'm making out with her. And I was like, this isn't, I don't know, I didn't think it wasn't natural. That is the word of the video. It just doesn't feel natural to me. I didn't love it, and it just wasn't engaging. I still think that people could like this. I still think that it could be a good time for a lot of people. It just didn't have the depth, the connection, the tension, that the believability that I would have really liked. But I'm really glad that I was able to read all these trans romances for Pride Month. I love a good story. I love silly goofy time and reading from diverse perspectives, even if it didn't end up being my favorite book in the world. So those were the 3 that I read for Pride Month in June. So a 2-star, a 3-star, and a 4-star. And I'd say that's pretty good. I want to have at least one that I loved. And so to have one that I loved, one that I liked, and one that I thought was just okay, I think that's great. I'd say that's a win. Then for July, which is Disability Pride Month, Disability Awareness Month, it kind of depends what you're doing. I wanted to read books where both the author is disabled and so is one of the main characters. So I read Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute by Talia Hibbert. I gave this one 4 stars. This is a young adult romance, and I usually don't love young adult novels anymore. I was a fervent, passionate fan of young adult novels, young adult fantasy, young adult dystopia, young adult paranormal romance when I was in middle and high school, and I have just kind of grown out of it, unfortunately. It is a great tragedy to me, but I just often find a lot of young adult novels to really feel like they are talking down to the reader, like dumbing things down a lot, which frustrates me because I just don't feel like it is necessary, because there's plenty of young adult novels that are very accessible to younger audiences without dumbing things down. Like The Hunger Games deals with really complex themes and messages, and I think is written in a mature way, but it's still completely understandable to a younger audience. I just don't see that a lot of times, unfortunately, so I just don't always love them. But I really did love Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute. I thought that it was written in a really mature way. I thought it was funny. The romance was really cute, but there was still a lot going on between the two main characters that I think could have still been a good story if there wasn't even a romance in it. I mean, it would have been significantly shorter, but I think it still would have been interesting to learn about these characters and what they're going through and what their goals are and what their conflicts are. They both had relatable and understandable personal conflicts. I thought that the way that their families were portrayed were really cute. They had lovely families. I liked their friends, other side characters. I just thought it was a really well fleshed out world with all of these. It felt very lived in, very realistic. It's about a boy and a girl who were childhood friends, and then when they got to be teenagers had like a disagreement where one of them wanted to make more friends and be in the popular crowd, and the other one thought that he was abandoning her by doing that and felt betrayed. And so they just have been on the outs for a few years as teenagers, but then they are drawn back together when they sign up for a program that's kind of like leadership, like outdoor wilderness survival leadership training that if they do really well at could potentially get them like a prestigious scholarship. And so that like forces them back together to kind of get to know each other again. Both of them have reasons for wanting a scholarship and what they're planning on doing. It's their last year in school before going on to university, and they're thinking a lot about their goals and what they want out of life, about the expectations of their families. I thought that it portrayed those very relatable young person conflicts in a really great way that I loved reading about, even though it wasn't like, I thought it was relatable without being repetitive or boring. That's such a common thing for a teenager to be thinking about and to be going through. And I thought that it still was able to portray those conflicts in a way that was new because it was catered to each individual character. It wasn't a total 5 for me. Once again, it kind of seemed to just be like, they didn't like each other, now suddenly they like each other. And I would have liked to see more of a build up to them liking each other and getting together, a little bit more tension building. But regardless, even though I would have preferred that, I still am giving it a strong 4 stars. I thought it was legitimately funny a lot of the time, contained a lot of heart. A lot of it was very sweet. The main couple were super cute together and also were very emotionally and intellectually mature and challenged each other. I thought it was lovely. And then like with this wilderness survival thing, that just made it like a fun story. I had a great time. One of the main characters, Brandon, his OCD was portrayed in a really interesting, sensitive, enlightening way. I believe that the author has been diagnosed with OCD, and so to be able to see from that kind of perspective was really fun. It wasn't like a central plot point or anything, it was just part of what he went through. It wasn't like a focus, and I thought it was cool. I also read The Secret Summer Promise by Keah Brown. Unfortunately, I gave this one 2 stars. I thought that the characters were really cute. I thought there was a lot of potential with this story. I did see the chemistry between the main character and her love interest. It's about a girl who is recently discovering that she is bisexual and in love with her female best friend. But she's convinced that her best friend does not feel the same way. And so she has to try and get rid of her feelings by dating someone else and to distract herself and do other things during the summer. I thought that the dynamic between her and her best friend was really cute, very convincing. I absolutely, right away, it was like, you're like, of course her best friend likes her back. This is very obvious. Like right off the bat, I was like, the romantic tension is right there. So romance, really great. Unfortunately, it just didn't feel like the romance was in it very much. It didn't really feel like a focus at all. There was a lot more time spent on the main character having like really petty, confusing fights with her friends. I don't know. I am not the kind of person who has big fights with people that I like. I know that that is not everyone, that some people are more combative. Is that a fair way to say that? I don't fight with my boyfriend. I don't fight with my family anymore. I don't fight with my friends. If I disagree with something, then we have a respectful conversation about it. And that's just how things have been. I do not have any experience with having big, messy, hurtful fights with my friends as a teenager. That is not something that makes any sense to me. And so reading about these girls all saying like terrible things to each other and getting these crazy disagreements and these very confusing misunderstandings was baffling to me. and I just didn't have a good time. I was like, why are they doing this to each other? And now they're making up and they're still friends. I don't know if they should be friends. I don't know if I like this. I just it just became it was a book that I didn't think it was going to be. I wanted a cute burgeoning romance between this girl and her best friend, and instead I was just reading about all these girls fighting. And to top it off, unfortunately, I was just talking about how Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute did a really great job of still having writing that was very engaging for the audience and like not dumbed down or anything. It still felt very mature and intelligent. This one, it was a writing style that felt extremely juvenile. Oh, I don't want to be unkind. It just felt juvenile. The main character, it's first person to the main character as she's going about her day. She's describing every single outfit that she wears. She's describing every single outfit that all of her friends are wearing. She's describing the outfits and the hairstyles of strangers who pass her on the street and then she never sees again. I was like, why do we need to know the outfit and the hairstyle of that stranger that never comes up again? She describes like, I got up in the morning and I started playing this exact song by this exact pop artist. And I was like, okay. At one point, it takes a very long time. I mean, I say like a paragraph, but like a long, like it felt long, just being like, and then me and my friends did this coordinated dance number, and then it described every single step in the choreography of each individual member of the friend group and what they did in the choreography. And I was like, why is this important? Why do we need to know? I also couldn't picture it. It described every single thing, and I was like, what do you mean? I still don't understand what they're doing or what this dance looks like. And also, it's not even important. So why is it here? Just all of these extremely unimportant, excruciating details that really took me out of it all the time. There's also this part where the main character's mom is a famous fashion designer, but famous to the point where people will stop her on the street and be like, oh my gosh, you're that famous designer. I'm wearing something that you designed right now. And I was like, does this world that they live in only have like 3 fashion designers? How does everyone recognize her on the street and have her clothes? I couldn't. If a famous fashion designer passed me on the street, I would not recognize them. I don't know what any designers look like. And I like fashion. I like clothes. I can recognize the names of designers. I cannot recognize what they look like. No idea. And I thought that was very odd. At one point, the main character was recognized in public for being the famous designer's daughter. And I was like, there's no way. There's no way. So it just felt like a very juvenile understanding of the world. And that was really irritating to me, and I didn't like it. So 2 stars. I didn't have a great time, but the romance was genuinely cute. I think that if the author just like focused more and edited details more, that she could write a really compelling love story. This one, the main character has cerebral palsy. Again, it's not like a focus of the story, it's just a factor in her life. And I believe the author also has cerebral palsy and is a big disability activist. So that's awesome. I would love for her to write more books. And then finally, I read The Kiss Quotient by Helen Hoang. I gave this one 5 stars. That's right, people. We have a 5-star in this video. I love this book. I just thought it was fantastic. I thought it was a great amount of yearning. It was also very hot, very spicy. I would say, hold on. Okay, here's spice levels. A Lady for a Duke, pretty spicy. Maybe like, not like a ton of scenes, maybe a couple scenes. Make Room for Love, very spicy. Quite a few scenes. The Kiss Quotient, pretty spicy. More than anything, sensual. The Kiss Quotient does the thing that I personally love, which is it makes a good kiss scene that is so good it is better than many mediocre sex scenes that I have read. The emotion, the buildup, the sensation, wow. The Kiss Quotient had this. This is about an autistic woman who thinks that she is very bad at relationships, especially at sex. And so she decides to hire a male escort to teach her how to be good in the bedroom. And then they fall in love. And this is objectively an absurd situation, but I thought that this book did a great job of making me set aside all of my disbelief and be like, I'm all for it. Let's go. I'm into it. I thought that the 2 characters were adorable, and I loved getting to know them. I thought that their dynamic was wonderful. It really emphasizes the importance of trust and knowing your partner and mutual respect and care. You get to know the male love interest's family really well, which is really cute, really great side characters in the families. A lot of the conflict comes from what the characters think about themselves, and I thought that that was well done. I loved kind of getting to know more about how the characters were managing that and figuring it out with each other. My one hangup was that the male love interest is kind of one-dimensional. He is really hot and really good at his job and kind of a perfect man, just like really wonderful to the main character and beloved by his family and helps his family. And his main thing is that he hates his dad and has major daddy issues and makes a lot of decisions based off of how much he hates his dad. And every once in a while, it would kind of suggest that maybe he has some other motivations for kind of some of his hangups and some of his complexes. And I'd be like, ooh, that's interesting. Nope, it would just go straight back to, but he hates his dad, and that's why he's doing these things. And I was like, okay, we get it. All right. I think that seems a little unrealistic. I think that most people have more than one thing that motivates them and more than one traumatic thing that informs their decisions. But so it just got a little silly and a little like a broken record near the end of like, oh my gosh, my dad was such a horrible person, and I'm gonna be just like my dad, and that's horrible, and I feel awful about myself because of my dad. And it's like, I know, man, you've said it a few times at this point. I understand. That was a little silly, but it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough to drag down my 5-star rating. I just thought that they were so cute together and so good together, and that their relationship was wholesome and sexy, and that was great. I had a great time. It managed to convince me that maybe a beautiful, successful young woman who struggles with social situations could mutually fall in love with her male escort. I believed it. I'm convinced. And I think that's fantastic writing. I am intrigued about reading the rest of the series that this book began. I feel like I've heard mixed things about the other books. This one seemed, when it came out, seemed very just like widely beloved. The other ones maybe not as much, but I'm still interested. I will probably read them. If you like tension, if you like build up, lots of just like building and building of tension of like, whoa, and now like they have to get together. Building of a strong relationship and understanding of each other, emotional and intellectual connection, cute, unique characters, a good sense of humor. I think you will like this romance. It was fun. We're really excited about the selection that I was able to read these past 2 months. I had a fun time. Let me know. Did you read anything for Pride Month or Disability Pride Month? Are there any books from this video that you would want to read? Please let me know, comment, and I'll see you again next time. Bye!